Yo, what the heck is going on, everybody? It's me, Michael Game Show here, and welcome to NHL 26 Predictions Stanley Cup Finals. Yep, we finally made it, folks. We are in the Stanley Cup Finals. I cannot believe we're already in the finals. It honestly has been a kind of a quick Stanley Cup playoffs, honestly. And to be quite honest, this playoffs hockey kind of disappointed me because there really wasn't like anything interesting happening. Just a bunch of blowouts, sweeps, and all that stuff. True, we did have 2 Game 7s, but both of them include Montreal, but that was about it. And we also did have some decent overtimes. But then again, what else was there that was really memorable? Hell, I argued that last year's playoff was more entertaining because that one was more chaotic and it had stuff happening. So, yeah, I don't really know how I feel about this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. It's been kind of disappointing, and it's probably been the worst playoffs I ever witnessed in my entire life. I cannot think of any other playoff year that was like just as bad, if not worse than this. So, yeah. Anyway, the Stanley Cup Finals is officially set, and tomorrow will be the real-life Stanley Cup Finals Game 1. It's going to be between your Western Conference champions, the Vegas Golden Knights. Boo! You suck, Vegas. Screw you, Gary Bettman. Versus the Eastern Conference champions, the Carolina Hurricanes. Yay, I guess? Rowie, you made it back to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time in 20 years. Okay, so let's give a little brief of what happened in the Stanley Cup playoffs before we get started. We'll start off with the Western Conference champions, Vegas Golden Knights. I remember when Vegas played like absolute garbage and looked like complete terrible and should have been nowhere near the playoffs. And I know it for sure because I saw them in person against Montreal in November when I went to Las Vegas for my 21st birthday. And they were sloppy, they were garbage. It feels like they shouldn't even be in the playoffs. And then, ever since they fired Bruce Cassidy, which I consider the worst decision they could have made at the time, and replace him with John Tortorella, they just continue on like nothing ever happened. Or in fact, it actually got so better that it was actually for the best for Vegas. They just kept winning and winning. You want to know what this team reminds me of? They remind me more of the 2018 team. Like, you know how they have like, they just keep winning and winning and winning. The only real difference is that they actually have a goaltender and nobody really expected them to make the playoffs or even the cup run, like at all, because it was their first year of their existence. But they did. They did eventually lose to the Washington Capitals, but still, it was very impressive that they made it that far in their first try. And then they just kept getting better and better ever since then. And they eventually won the Stanley Cup in 2023. Because everyone knew Vegas was going to win the cup that year because they were just that good. Except for Oilers fans, because they bragged at how they were the best team in the league that year when they weren't. Their power play was the only reason why they kept them relevant and the only reason why they got as far as they did. And it got so bad that I was even rooting for Vegas to beat the Oilers that year. And I even said that the right team won the series, which they did. As much as I hated the Golden Knights, and I should never be rooting for them. But honestly, this Vegas team is honestly the weakest team they ever had. Like, no question is asked. Hell, even their 2022 team, the team that missed the playoffs, was even better than this year's Vegas Golden Knights. And they were injured as hell. That's why they missed the playoffs, because they were just beat up and couldn't stay healthy that year. And guess what? This year, they really had no goaltending, or they had question in goaltending. But Carter Hart has been outstanding. I remember when he first signed with them, I was like, okay, this guy's going to fall apart. There's no way he's going to do this well. It turns out he's back to his old Philly form in 2020. So, yay, I guess. Especially after his, incident that we don't talk about. So, yeah, I don't really know how the Golden Knights made the finals, but the only reason I can really explain it is that they just keep winning. That's all they did. Just keep winning, 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 just like their 2018 team. And there's a lot of examples that sometimes that if your team's like completely weak and maybe with the best of missing the playoffs, if you just keep winning, you will eventually win the championship. There are plenty of examples of that. Want to know a perfect example? Look at the 2025 Los Angeles Dodgers. Remember when people didn't consider them to be World Series favorites, and a lot of them thought they were the weakest team that they ever had since their like dynasty or whatever you want to call it now, because they wasn't a dynasty just yet. But yet they still kept winning and refused to lose, and they won the 2025 World Series. Now, granted, I feel like they only got it because they got lucky as hell, and then also two pathetic choky teams in Toronto and Philadelphia is the reason why they won the World Series. But whatever, a win's a win, and they won the championship, so they have the right to brag about it. And there's another example. The 2025 New England Patriots. Like, yes, they didn't win the Super Bowl, but did any of you guys expect them to make it to the Super Bowl that year? No one did. I mean, I expect them to beat the Chargers, but not, and maybe the Texans, but definitely not the Broncos. But they did lose to the Seattle Seahawks. So, yeah, and pretty much that's what this Vegas team reminds me of. They remind me of the New England Patriots of last year and the Los Angeles Dodgers of last year's. Weak teams that probably shouldn't even be in the playoffs, or in New England's case, they were in a pretty bad division, and they really didn't do well, but yet they make it to the finals, make it to the Super Bowl and World Series, and yet no one would expect them to do anything or win it, and yet they still win it. Well, okay, the Patriots did lose to the Seahawks, but still, you get what I'm saying. Like, this is what Vegas reminds me of. Alright, now it's time to move to the Eastern Conference champions, the Carolina Hurricanes. Freaking finally. I was getting really sick and tired of Carolina, like, always choking and playing like absolute garbage in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's about time they actually made it to the finals. Because I've been waiting for them that they're finally going to get over the hump, and yet they never did until this year. And you know something? They're currently 12-1 so far in the postseason, which is the best record in the playoffs since the 1983 Edmonton Oilers. Now, granted, that 1983 Edmonton Oilers was a different era of hockey, and that was back when the first round was only 5 games. Best of 5, not best of 7, so. And it was also Wayne Gretzky's first trip to the Stanley Cup Finals. So, yeah. So, Carolina has a lot of good pieces that they have in their core, and that they finally get the chance to win the Stanley Cup. Taylor Hall has a chance to win his first Stanley Cup, who was a former MVP in 2018, I believe it was. Freddie Anderson, even though he didn't play that well in the regular season, has been excellent in the postseason. This is probably the best chance he's ever going to get to win the Stanley Cup. And honestly, I think he deserved it. Yes, he played for the Ducks and Maple Leafs, which I hate both teams, but you know what? Who cares? He deserves it. You know how many times that he played out of his damn mind yet only lose in the series because his team in front of him sucks? Yeah, that's pretty much. Also, I forgot to mention this when I talked about Vegas, but Mitch Marner is going to the Stanley Cup Finals. So yeah, he's laughing at Toronto because Toronto whined and complained that he was the problem with Toronto, and he really wasn't. After they traded him to the Golden Knights, he made it to the Stanley Cup Finals on his first try and won more playoff series than he did when he was in Toronto, which he only won 2 playoff series in Toronto, and he won 3 playoff series in Vegas. So, I don't know, Toronto, maybe Mitch Marner wasn't the true problem. Maybe it was your organization itself. So yeah, Toronto is the real losers of the Stanley Cup Finals, because they didn't even make it, and plus, one of their 2 former players that are good players, Freddie Anderson or Mitch Marner, is going to win the Stanley Cup. Who knows? So, that's pretty much the 2026 Stanley Cup Finals. And before you say anything, yes, I am aware that it says that Carolina's in the Western Conference and Vegas is in the Eastern Conference. I had to do this because Carolina is the home team, and since this is NHL 26, the Western Conference last year was home ice in the finals. So I literally had to like flip-flop just to get it to work. So just be thankful I'm trying to get this accurate as possible. Alright guys? But yeah, that's pretty much it. The only thing is that we have minimums 4 games and max 7. Minimum 4 games and max 7 games. So now, who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup in 2026? According to NHL 26, we'll find out. According to me, in my opinion, I'm kind of torn because honestly, I can see both arguments. On paper, the Hurricanes should easily crush the Golden Knights because let's be honest, Vegas really has no reason or business to even be in the finals, except that they just kept winning and winning. But Carolina is an absolute machine, and they're 12-1 for a reason this postseason. But if there's anything worrying about Vegas, is that never doubt the Knights. They'll always find a way to win games. So I hate to admit this, as much as I'm going to pick Vegas in 6 games. Like, that's who I think is going to win the Stanley Cup. I'm going to hate it, but we all know that Carolina is eventually going to like choke and stuff because they're the Buffalo Bills of hockey. Go Hurricanes. I may have made fun of you in the past, but this will be the first time I'll be rooting for you in the finals. Go ahead and beat those goddamn Knights, because screw Vegas, I can't be rooting for them. Alright guys, I think it's time to get this party started. So the rules are the same as always. I'm going to sim through each game, and then if one team has the chance to win the Stanley Cup, then go to the sim and then go into the game that they're about to win. So let's get right into it. And yes, the cat just keeps like running around because I'm recording late at night. So you're probably going to hear him a lot, just to let you guys know that. Alright, here we go. Time to sim the first game. Who will win the first game of the 2026 Stanley Cup Finals according to NHL 26? And who will win it? Carolina wins game 1. Alright. Look, Mitch Marner has a goal and assist for 2 points. Alright, Carolina has a chance to go up 2-0, or Vegas has a chance to tie the series and going back to Vegas. Who will win? Go Carolina. Carolina's up 2-0. Now they're going to Vegas. Alright. Vegas has to win this game to keep their Stanley Cup hopes alive. They won't lose the Stanley Cup, but if they go down 3-0, they're in serious trouble. And Carolina has a chance to go up 3-0. Come on, Carolina, go up 3-0. Nope, Vegas wins game 3. And that was my chair, if you're wondering what that popping noise was. Okay, game 4. Carolina has a chance to go up 3-1, or Vegas has a chance to tie the series going back to Carolina for game 5. I'm nervous. Come on, Carolina, I need you to win. Yes! Let's freaking go. Carolina's up 3-1. They have a chance to win the Stanley Cup game 5 at home. This would be awesome if they actually win the Stanley Cup. You know what that means, folks. Time to sim. And I just realized that I forgot to mute on the music. So, sorry guys. You know what, I think at this point I'm just going to leave it because it's a shorter video and I don't think it's really that big of a deal, so I am also talking. If I get copyright claim, oh well, at least I tried. So, yeah. It's time to sim the game. Okay, here we go. First period. Trying to remember the buttons. Okay, it's A. Carolina's up 1-0. Alright, second period. Carolina's up 2-0. Oh my god, Carolina just has 20 more minutes to win the 2026 Stanley Cup according to NHL 26. Let's freaking do this. Alright, go Carolina. Carolina's on the power play. Vegas, Jack Eichel makes it 2-1. Carolina makes it 3-1. Jake Blake. Carolina and Vegas. Stanley Cup Finals. Game 5. About a minute and I think it's like 47 seconds left to win. Carolina will probably win the Stanley Cup. Here we go. Jesus. Thirty point 3 seconds left. Looks like Carolina will win the Stanley Cup for the first time since 2006, 20 years ago. Also, I'm speaking quiet because I accidentally woke up my mom. Because again, I'm recording late at night. I don't know if she even heard me, but whatever. Alright, that would seal the game for Carolina. Vegas would be the losers, according to NHL 26. It'd be awesome if they were one of the losers. First time in 20 years, in 2006, the Carolina Hurricanes are the Stanley Cup champions. Now this is what I'd like to see in real life. Carolina record is 16-2. Incredible. Freddie Anderson is their goalie, not this guy. Just letting you guys know. Alright, here comes Jordan Staal to lift the Stanley Cup. The second Stanley Cup ring has won one of the Pittsburgh Penguins. There we go. I choose to recall. If you should be the first one to receive it. picture, every single team that did the prediction in the NHL 26 won the Stanley Cup in their whole lives. There it is. Carolina Hurricanes 2025-26 Stanley Cup champions. Oh wait, Sean Walker, former LA King. Alright guys, going to 1926, for Stanley Cup champions, the Carolina Hurricanes. Like I said, it would be really great if they win the Stanley Cup in real life. Let's take a look at the playoff tree. Yep, this is what it is. Even though technically it should be the opposite. Vegas should be on the left side, Carolina should be on the right side. But whatever. Carolina still won the Stanley Cup. Alright, let's take a look at player stats. Freddie Anderson would be the goalie right now. And he's 36. Alright everybody, that's going to be the end of today's video. I finally did it. The Stanley Cup playoff predictions of 2026 is over. And will this be accurate or not? Who the hell knows? Because every time I play this one, none of the predictions they picked was accurate. So, yeah. Carolina wins the Stanley Cup. Let's hope that's true. Because screw you, Vegas, and screw you, Kevin Bettman. So, good luck to both teams in the Stanley Cup finals. I'll be interested to see how it happens. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this and want me to see more predictions in the future, please let me know. I enjoy doing them. And, yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye, everyone, and have a great day.